Hi there. I'm going to have a look at the weather astrology for storm Keer Awm, which hit the UK, it hit the Brittany, west coast of France and Spain, as well as Belgium, Germany, with one mighty blast of low pressure related winds, storms, hail. So this was reported by Associated Press. And here you can see the image. This is an image off the coast of the United Kingdom, New Haven, southern England, early on Thursday, the 2nd of November, 2023. There were winds of up to 180 kilometers per hour. And trees were uprooted, windows were blown out, and 1.2 million French households had no electricity on Thursday, the 2nd of November. The Channel Islands of Jersey and Guernsey were also battered, and gusts of 160 kilometers an hour were reported. So, what does the astrology have to say? All right, well, let's take a look at, I'm going to just take Brest, which is the Brittany coast. And the closest I could find on the internet was that the storm happened in the late evening of the 1st of November, Wednesday, the 1st of November. So what we are looking for, we have a pattern going on here. Let me just get my pens and pencils. Right. So this is the big pattern for the next couple of months. Jupiter is applying to Uranus. It will become exact around about the 24th of April, 2024. And in weather astrology, Jupiter and Uranus bring weather disruption. Hard aspects of Jupiter and Uranus bring disrupted weather. Okay, so we could ask, why now? You know, April is 5 or 6 months away. And what I have found when doing storm chasing with the astrology, you are actually looking for planets, faster moving planets, that are going to activate this conjunction, which currently is 11 degrees apart. And so what's going to happen is, if we look on the other side, let's take a different color and look opposite. So opposite, we will see we have the sun at 9 degrees of Scorpio. We have Mars at 14 degrees of Scorpio. We have Mercury at 17 degrees of Scorpio. And so all these planets are busy activating and connecting Jupiter to Uranus via opposition aspects. We can see Mercury has already aspected Jupiter and is moving. It's at 17 degrees of Scorpio, and it is going to be aspecting Uranus pretty soon. Mercury is moving pretty fast, and yeah, it's doing 1 degree 34, 1.5 degrees per day. Right. So let's go back and see when Mercury first aspected Jupiter. And that was on the 29th of October. Now, in weather astrology, Mercury is the wind planet. It's the planet that brings the winds by being in certain signs and by aspect to certain planets. So with Mercury translating, in astrology we call this translating, when a planet links one planet to another. Mercury is translating the Jupiter-Uranus opposition. So Mercury first aspected Jupiter on the 29th of November at 4:30 in the morning in France. Now, and when will it finish its activation? On the 4th of November. So today, at 5 o'clock today, Mercury then reaches 21 degrees of Taurus, and so she's finished the activation. Next, we have Mars. Now, Mars in weather astrology, Mars brings disruption. Mars, it's the planet of war, and in astrology, these planets become very archetypal. And Mars brings conflict in the atmosphere, hot air contrasting with cold air. It brings churn, it brings turbulence. Mars is also associated with fire, and also, fire is the big one for Mars, as well as being disruptive. And in Scorpio, it is particularly strong. In fact, Mars is ruling Mercury and the Sun by traditional rulerships, which I have found work pretty well for weather astrology. So let's take a look. Mars is, of course, a slower moving planet. We can see Mars is currently doing 41 minutes per day. Quite fast for Mars, which averages around about 30 minutes per day. Okay, let's have a look. When did Mars first activate that Jupiter-Uranus conjunction? And that would have been on the 28th of October. On the 28th of October, Mars encountered Jupiter by opposition, exact 10 degrees. And it will complete its activation on the 11th of November. So there's our slower moving planet. So it started before Mercury and it will end after. So this is setting up for stormy weather. And then the third planet involved in this big opposition with the Jupiter-Uranus conjunction is the Sun. So you'll see on the 1st of November, in the evening, I've drawn this chart for 11 o'clock, just to take some time in the late evening, and we will move it around and shortly just to see if we can see astrologically when the big storms would have hit. Okay, so the sun is going to oppose Jupiter tomorrow. It's sitting here at 9 degrees of Scorpio and will be at 10. The sun moves 1 degree a day. And yes, it is actually doing exactly 1 degree a day at the moment. Okay, so on the 2nd, on Thursday, the 2nd of November, that's when the sun began its translation of the Jupiter-Uranus conjunction. And let's just see when the sun, on the 13th of November, the sun will complete that activation. So we have got some standout timing happening here. That certainly encompasses these massive stormy days that Europe experienced. Okay, so now let's refine it a little bit more. And what we're going to do is we're going to animate this chart. And we're going to move it forward by hours. All right, so notice, I'm going to just take, I suppose I can move this. Can I move it? No. All right, let me rub this out. Okay, so notice that at 11 p.m. on Wednesday, the 1st of November, Mars and Mercury are sitting. No, forget that. I'm wanting them to be sitting on the angles. So let's just have a look and see. All right. So in France, it's the 2nd of November when we find Jupiter, the Sun, Mercury, and Mars all. So Jupiter gets there at about 11 o'clock. Oh, sorry, not 11 o'clock. Jupiter gets there at 1 in the morning, 12 past 1 in the morning on the 2nd of November, on Thursday. And so Jupiter, the Sun opposition. And then a little bit later on, at about 20 past 1 in the morning, Mars becomes angular on that 4th house cusp, and Mercury. A little bit later, at around about 1:30 in the morning. So there we can see the activation. If we want to look at the UK, because the UK is further west, and generally on Earth, the weather moves west to east because the planet spins towards the west on its axis. Our planet Earth spins towards the west on its axis. Alrighty, the next thing that I would like to have a look at is the declination. So I'm going to draw us, before we do that, let's just have a look at, let's put the storm in the UK, and let's take something on the west coast of the UK. What did we say? New Haven. All right. Notice I'm using tropical, zodiac, and Placidus for weather astrology. All right. So in the UK, let's just have a look when that will become angular. But I want this in minutes. Make it, put it into hours. Let's have a look and see. Right. So here in the UK, all right. So in the UK, the sun reached the angle at 11:30. And then after that, so basically that the sun did actually reach the angle on the 1st of November. And then Jupiter, let's just see when Mercury gets there. Just after midnight, Mars arrives on the angle, and Mercury gets there at 14 minutes past midnight on Thursday, the 2nd of November. All right, so, okay, we've had a look at that. Now let us go and take a look at the declination graph. Because in weather, we are very interested in declination graphs. All right, I'm going to do from the 28th of October for 1 month. Right, so the first thing, okay, what I want to mention is that declination is based on the equator projected up into the sky, so-called celestial equator. Let me just draw that in for you. Let's get a color. Why can't I get a color? Doesn't want to give me colors. Oh, maybe I have to pick a pen first. Right, there we go. All right, so let's take a color. All right, and there is 0 degrees, which is the equator, projected up into the sky. So we'll just draw a rough line across here. Okay, and then the maximum that the sun goes north and south is 23 degrees, 26 minutes. And that angle is measured from that celestial equator. Okay, so, and that's what brings our seasons. So let's go look for 23 and a half, roughly. Okay, let's draw that in the north. There we go. And so that is the Tropic of Cancer, where the sun turns. Tropos is a Greek word meaning turning point. And that's where the tropical zodiac, which is well known in the West, comes from. And then here at 23 degrees, just you can see the planet Pluto sitting here. So just below the Pluto line, we have, pardon, I can't draw a very straight line freehand. We've got the Tropic of Capricorn. Right. Okay. So the first thing I wanted to notice is that the moon is very far, what we call out of bounds. If a planet moves beyond that turning point of the sun, it's considered, in astrology, we call it out of bounds. Out of bounds. Okay, so notice that the moon went out of bounds on the 31st of October and only returns on the 4th of November. And here on the 2nd of November, it is sitting maxing out. Let me put rather the moon symbol. Oops. All right, we'll draw that again. Okay. Let's do that again. Oh, I rubbed out my tropic as well. Never mind. There it sits. Okay. And the big thing that I wanted to show you was here on the 2nd of November, the moon is maximum out of bounds. And yeah, so that can often be part of extreme weather events. Okay, so and it's in the northern hemisphere as well. All right. Now, the next thing that happens on the 2nd of November is that Mercury, the planet that rules winds, let me just change my color. What shall we give Mercury? Give Mercury a yellow. Okay, so this is Mercury, the planet that rules winds, seen with this black line. Okay, so let's just circle that there. And Uranus, which is a planet that can bring record-breaking extremes, which is over here, they were at the same declination on that day. And that was at about 11:30 in the morning. They were at exactly the same declination opposite the equator. Uranus in the north, Mercury in the south. So that we call a contraparallel, and it functions like an opposition. So there, on the declination graph, we have record-breaking winds on the 2nd of November. All right. And yeah, then today, which is Saturday, the 4th of November, Saturn was actually stationing direct. And that was at 8 o'clock in France. And also today, we had Mercury opposing Uranus by longitude, which is the other earlier graph that I showed you. So those are the signatures that are clustered around this mighty storm. And yeah, I thought I would just share that with you guys, because one can actually see these giant stormy events in the sky, in the weather. Well, in the astrology, shall we say, in the astrology. Right, let me just remove this, rub out all this stuff. Oh, where's my rubber? There we go, rub all that out. Okay. And, you know, there is more drama up ahead, because notice notice all this going on here. This is our stationary Saturn sitting here. And yeah, so the moon is going to be crossing Saturn. Saturn in weather astrology is called stormy Saturn. So we have to pay attention also to what Saturn's doing. And here by declination, the moon will be crossing Saturn. The moon will then be going out of bounds around about the 14th of November. There, that's where it goes south of the Tropic of Cancer, which is just below this Pluto line over here. But there's a lot going on here. The sun is going to cross Mars, and Mercury is going to cross Pluto. Pluto in weather astrology is destructive. There's Mercury-Pluto crossing. Here is the Sun-Mars crossing, and you can see that Sun and Mars are tracking very closely all the way over here. So this is likely to affect the southern hemisphere more dramatically. Here's our new moon happening on the 13th of November. And yeah, so yeah, Mercury going through Pluto, that is quite. And then on the 19th, we have, okay, here we have Venus crossing through Neptune. And Neptune is pretty close to the equator. So in weather astrology, we pay special attention to planets that are close to the equator, to the celestial equator, or close to the tropics. So we've got Neptune, which is a planet that can bring a lot of moisture in the air. And Venus is a rainy planet. So there is more rain in store for us. And actually on the 3rd of November, part of this other storm that we were talking about, on the 3rd of November, by longitude, which is the other maps that I was talking about, we had Mercury and Mercury opposing Neptune. And there was lots of, and Neptune, as well as being a planet that brings lots of moisture in the air, can also bring freak weather. So they had massive hailstones and these freak winds. But yeah, Venus, Neptune is going to be freak rainy kind of weather because Venus is one of the rainy planets. Venus and Moon are the rain bringers. So freaky rain, freaky precipitation, including the hails and so on. Okay, so let's finish up with this. Just let's erase all the stuff so that I haven't got this sitting all over my slide. So let's come back here. Let's come back here to the storm. And let's notice that we've got Neptune, Venus. Let me draw that in for you quickly. All right, so there is Venus sitting at 23 degrees and Neptune sitting at 25 degrees retrograde. So this is what's called double applying opposition. And the actual position happened at 11 p.m. on the 3rd of November, which was Friday evening. this opposition became exact. And that was what part of the signature of the storm. Right, so there we go. As more storms develop, and yeah, we'll do a bit more storm chain. That's my plan. My plan is to do more storm chasing astrology, which is quite interesting. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed this. If you've got any questions, please pop me an email. If you're fascinated by weather astrology, I do teach it. I offer a basic course as well as that's a four lesson course. And then I offer an advanced course, which is the full course is 12 lessons. So if you do the first 4 lessons and want to then continue to the advanced, it's another 8. So yeah, my email is karenjames.skyguide@gmail.com if you would like to get in touch with me. Yeah, hope you enjoy it. Thanks a lot. Bye.